We welcome in our Dolphins insider, Clay Ferraro from WPLG in Miami. Clay, thanks for taking the time to join us. I guess the big story around camp is surfacing around Jarvis Landry. He wants a new contract. Do you think he gets a new contract?
I think he does, but I don't think it's for another year or so. It was really interesting in camp when we talked to him. He said, look, I never gave it any thought of doing what Odell Beckham Jr. did and not going to minicamp, not going to these organized team activities that were voluntary. He wanted to go in and he wanted to be with his team. The interesting thing that he told us was Chris Greer, the Dolphins GM, has made it very clear we take care of our own around here. And he proved that last year with Rashad Jones. It was really a perfect case study because Rashad Jones wanted the same thing last year. He didn't get the new contract. He goes out there, he gets hurt against the Steelers less than halfway through the year, and they still gave him the contract. So I think they're kind of creating a culture of trust around here. And Jarvis Landry is saying, look, I trust you guys. I feel like I'm going to get that new contract when it's my turn.
Clay, I guess the guy's got to get him the ball, of course, is Ryan Tannehill. Year one with Adam Gase looked like it was going along swimmingly until Tannehill got hurt. What about year two with this duo of Gase and Ryan? Do you see more explosion in Ryan's game this year?
I do. The interesting thing was that game that he got hurt against Arizona was the one where the Dolphins were telling us we felt like that was where he showed that he was turning the corner. There were a few things that, be it going through his progressions or anticipating certain things, that was the game before he got hurt that he really started to show that ability to be a next-level quarterback. I do think there's just a tiny bit of concern with that knee injury, even though the Dolphins won't say it publicly, but I think anytime you have a knee injury like he did, you want to see what happens once you go into training camp and, more importantly, the preseason games. And when he takes that first hit, how does he respond? I can tell you the first practice that we were out there, the first OTA that we were able to watch, it looked like it took him a little bit of time to get used to it. But by the second or third day he was out there, he seemed perfectly fine on that knee brace. Now, again, the question is that was no contact. So once he hits, how does he respond to that?
And Clay, speaking of explosion, Jay Ajayi, wow, where did that come from a year ago? Can you expect that again this year from Jay, or do you worry about a fallback a little bit?
I expect it. The interesting thing about Jay was, go back to the first week of last year. He was left off the team plane when they went to Seattle. They were not happy with him around here. The interesting thing there was the scuttlebutt was that they had brought in Arian Foster to compete for that starting job, and Ajayi didn't handle it too well. Well, fast forward a couple of weeks, completely different player, and he had really matured and come around. The interesting thing during camp was when we spoke to Ajayi, he told us, I'm not settling on that. I want to be the best running back in the league. And guys, the thing that he's done to try to get to that point, he's working a lot harder to be a better pass catcher. He wants to be the total and complete back. He didn't want to just be a first and second down guy. He wants to be that third down guy. You can put him out there all the time and do whatever the team needs him to do. So all that being said, I almost expect a better year barring injury.
Another guy that looks like on paper should be a stud is Julius Thomas. Can he really be a difference maker? Because hasn't quite had the same type of years that he had back in Denver from a few years ago.
Look, I'm not here to tell anybody how to live their lives, but if you're in a fantasy draft, take Julius Thomas 2 to 3 before he's projected. I'm telling you, Adam Gase loves the guy. They grew up together, essentially, in Denver. Gase was there during the progression from Thomas, being a guy who was just learning the game. But then Thomas is a true pro, man. I tell you, he's the guy that he talks to other guys on the team about this offense. He's teaching them because he knows it so well. He knows it like the back of his hand. So all that to say that I think he's in a system now where he's able to thrive. Adam Gase knows what his strengths are, and he's going to use them. The other thing, guys, this team has lacked that red zone threat ever since Tannehill has been a quarterback here. They've needed to get that tight end, that guy that when you get down inside the 5-yard line, team is loading up to stop the run. Where are you going to throw it? Well, now I think they feel like they finally have that in Julius Thomas. And last time I checked, you get a lot of fantasy points for touchdown catches, right?
Yeah, you absolutely do. Look, it looks like the offense is all systems go. But, Clay, what about the defense? Did they do enough in the offseason to shore up that unit?
They feel like they did. I think there are a lot of ifs and buts there. I will say this. They felt like everything went downhill after Rashad Jones got that shoulder injury last year and went out. They love him. They feel like he's the quarterback of that defense. And the big problem with this team was the rush defense, 30th in the NFL last year. So the question is, how do you fix that? Well, they brought in some linebackers. They brought in Lawrence Timmons. They drafted Raekwon McMillan. They're kind of trying to get all those guys in there, figure out who fits in best. Defensive line, I think, Ndamukong Suh is great. They need somebody opposite him. And I'll tell you, in OTAs, Jordan Phillips, he's the second round pick out of Oklahoma a couple of years ago. He's really impressed people. He's always had the physical tools. He's a monster physically. Now it seems like that light is coming on. Again, it's hard to tell because there's no contact out there. But if he's able to emerge as a legitimate rush defender and those linebackers fit in well, then yeah, absolutely, I could see them doing enough. But again, there's a lots of ifs and buts in there. I want to see it in practice first before I'm willing to make a full guess on that.
All right, a playoff team a year ago. Let's see if they can do it in year 2 with Adam Gase. Clay Ferraro at WPLG in Miami. Great information, and we appreciate the time.
No problem, guys.